The proof is in the pudding, and the pudding in this case is a football. Boom! Eat my goal! The goalie has got football pie all over his shirt.
Welcome to this episode of the Down the Pub podcast. This is another one of our review shows. I'm joined by the amazing Gary Griffiths again. This time it's a little bit of a sadder occasion than the first game review we did. So it's going to be a little bit different, this one. So welcome back to the show, Gary.
Thank you for having me. I have my tiny violin on hand for when it gets really sad. Playing Brazilian samba ballads.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely gotta cry. So, obviously we lost to Ottawa, but I thought before we got into the game itself, with like the big talking point of the whole of the game was the injury to Joao Morelli. So I know you took a look back at it today, and nobody really wants to look at it again because it was off of you. But like, what was your impressions of what happened? And it's so nothing's coming out from the club about the extent of the injury, so we're kind of all just guessing at this stage. But what do you gather from what you saw?
Yeah, I've watched the game back a couple of times, and I actually the first time skipped over the injury because I don't like seeing stuff like that. I'm glad when the TV companies cut away from it and don't show you it again. But I thought because we were going to be talking about it, we should probably have an idea what happened. And it looked like, so the ball comes at him in midair and he plants his left foot. And then as he plants his left foot, he tries to kind of twist to control it with his right foot. And you see the second he twists, he just crumples, his knee buckles and he falls over. And you see him like straight away saying to the ref, like, it's gone. Yeah. So I'm no medical expert. I think every time a player hurts their knee seriously, you assume it's an ACL or something. But who knows? Yeah, nothing's come out from the club. I assume they're still waiting for something definitive from the specialists. So, yeah, it didn't look good. I felt really bad for him.
Yeah, man, I was the exact same. Like I watched the game back today, and it was grim viewing. But I think even like when there's this thing, I think, and it seems to be like a CPL thing, that when a player goes down, they assume it's cramp. And the players go over and they start doing a twisty foot thing. Yeah. And you can see Joe's like, get the fuck away from me.
Yeah,
like, don't even attempt it. Like, and then
I have one working leg. I will kick you in the head if you come near the other one. Fuck off.
So like and the way he was like lying perfectly still too was a really bad sign. And then once nobody wants to see the stretcher come on like that. And it was grim. And I mean, football's secondary to somebody's health and stuff like that. So, obviously we're selfish football fans and we kind of think of the consequences of what's going to be for the team. But I mean, first and foremost, we wish him a speedy recovery from whatever it is. And, we'll still be waiting for him when he gets back. But I think
massively. Yeah. Can't wait to see him back smashing in a hat trick at the grounds. Hopefully before too long.
Yeah. I think it might be a long layoff though. And, hopefully we learn a bit more in the coming days of what the extent of it was. So so just looking back to the game itself, like it was an odd game. It was a typical one. It just felt like last season, it was so odd. But I think of the starting lineup before we move on.
No, not too many massive surprises with the starting lineup. I must admit, I thought he was going to bring Schala back in just to deal with Shaw and Wright, who are both really, really big centre forwards. But no drama there. Like Restrepo and Santos were great against York, and I thought they were great again, to be honest. So I don't think there's any drama there. The only other change was Salter coming in for Marshall. Was there another one? Or
yeah,
that was it, wasn't it?
Daniels on Lamotte.
Yeah, so, right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, Salter, I guess Lamoth coming in was enforced because Daniels picked up an injury in training, they said. Salter coming in on the left, I was quite surprised about. I didn't think Marshall was particularly good last week against York, but equally, I'm still not convinced that Salter's a left winger. I feel like if you're playing as a wide forward, you have to ask questions of the right back. So if the right back's coming up against someone fast, they're always thinking, oh, I can't get too tight. He might spin me and run into the space behind me. With Salter, as a physical profile, he's much more of a centre forward. So I think when you stick him on the left, there's the right back knows exactly what he has to do to have a good day. He needs to like go touch tight with Salter. He's not worried about him running in behind because he knows he'll probably beat him in a foot race. So all he has to do is touch tight, squeeze the defense up, which makes it really congested in the middle. And yeah, he's going to have quite an easy day against him. In fairness, in the second half, Salter was playing a lot more narrow, along with Ben, who was playing quite narrow, but yeah, I don't love him as a left back. As a left forward, to be honest. I think he's much more of a centre forward.
So what would you think of? Like to me, like Tabby is not just a full back or wing back. Like I think he's like fast enough to be a winger. Like why he would not try to have like maybe Gander in that left back and then have Tabby kind of playing the wing position, because at least he's got the pace and the speed to, as you said, like cause him trouble. I just think like after this is the thing that always puzzles me with Stephen Hart. Like he tried this last week against York and it did not work. Like Salter was awful, like when he's playing up the left wing. And I don't mean this is nothing mean about him. It's not his position. Like we even mentioned ourselves, and like why does he try to make it work? Like it's not going to work. He's not that player. Like I and if Marshall's on the bench, why is he not playing? Like I hate this thing of like he's carrying a knock. Well, if he's carrying a knock, then he shouldn't be on the bench. You know what I mean? If he's fit enough to be on the bench, he's fit enough to play. That's the way I look at it. I'd rather get a decent 45, 50 minutes out of him than just for him to come on 10 minutes and do fuck all. You know what I mean? Like it just...
Yeah, I to be honest, I think like ostensibly Salter was a left winger, but tactically he kept coming quite narrow. So, and I'm putting words in the coach's mouth here, but what I imagine the instructions were for Bent and Salter to tuck right in. So they were almost playing centrally, which would then allow Tabby and Fernandez to hit the wings. But in the first half, especially, it didn't work out like that. Ottawa forced Salter to play quite wide. And again, that's not his game, playing out wide. So it's hard to say whether it was kind of an error of the tactical instructions, whether Salter didn't quite play the role as he should have done, or something in between, to be honest. But yeah, I would much rather see a much more natural winger playing out there, to be honest. But yeah, other than that, like Lamoth played quite well, I think, coming in for Daniels. That wasn't too much of a problem. But yeah, yes, I would like to see Salter central in future.
It's his natural instinct to push in like that. You know what I mean? So like what you want from a traditional winger, he's not going to do, you know what I mean? Because it's not like he's never taught to play that way. And you're trying to, like, in the space of 2 weeks, try and train this guy to be a winger or something that he's not. So I just think it's an experiment that doesn't work. And I don't think we needed to make that mistake again, because he just looked lost. And I don't know how many times in the game they said that he's taking a heavy touch. Every time the ball went out to him, we were hitting an awful lot of long balls into the wings to Bent and to him, and every time the ball came near him, like he couldn't control it. And
I thought a lot of our players had a poor first touch actually against Ottawa. I thought Tabby's first touch wasn't great. I think Bent played quite well, but every now and then his first touch wasn't quite there. I did notice that as well.
And even like the amount of offsides too. Like it was pissing me off many times. Like Corey Bent was like just 10 seconds too quick to make his run and get caught offside. And we were being good positions, but like
I don't mind that with Bent, to be honest, though, because we need at least one player who is making them runs off the shoulder. And yeah, he is getting caught offside quite a lot. Against York, he was caught offside a lot as well. But at least we have a player who's playing with that intention to make those runs. And that can be taught. That can come with playing that advanced. It will come with experience as well. So I'd rather him getting caught offside a lot than no one running in behind.
So just to talk about the first half, I think we kind of started off in the same vein as what we did against York. I thought we controlled the ball quite well. We didn't give them too many chances. They had a couple, but it wasn't like too many clear-cut chances. I thought that we control the flow of the game very well. But once again, we came up against that, and this is what I think we should talk about next, is we came up against this thing where we can't create anything. And it's like, I feel like we get to the final third of the pitch and we don't know what to do because everybody's all over the place, because we're asking players like Salter to play in positions they're not used to, or we're asking them to come inside and we don't have enough on the outsides to cross the ball into the box. Or like, I don't like, there was a few times that I saw like where like Corey Bent, like rather than try and take on his man, kept trying to come inside to play a through ball to somebody. And it's like why can't you go to the byline? Why can't you like take your player on? And and then when he moves inside like that, then we're expecting Fernandez to run 60 yards to take that position up. Like, that's an awful lot to ask of a player throughout a whole game. And I just feel like we were so narrow through most of the game. And I think a lot of that came from the fact, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that Rampersat, JGL and Lamont can't play together. I don't think they like Rampersat sat back, and then like Jeremy and Pierre just literally played the same position. The two of them were eights. They were almost like tripping over each other. It was like little, like basically just planted in the middle, and there was nothing else. Like I think that's why we ended up doing an awful lot of long balls to the wing, because we didn't have like this. And I think that's where Joe probably would have played a little bit better if because he would have been able to drop deep and get the ball from them. But a
couple of things in there, like starting with the point about Jeremy, Rampersad and Lamoth all playing together. I thought exactly the same thing, actually. I think they all played well, and individually they are all good players, very, very good squad players. But as a three, I think you really saw how much we missed Daniels with them all together, because they all want to do similar things. They all want to kind of take it in tight areas, play little 1-2s to beat the press. They want to pass through the lines rather than carry it through the lines. And just seeing Daniels last week was like just a shot in the arm of this player who's so direct. As soon as he gets it, his head down, he wants to beat a man, he wants to break the lines that way. But with those three, they're all doing a similar thing, and they're all doing it well. Like I thought they all played well, but you're just missing that variety when they're all together. I don't think it quite. Saying it doesn't work is the wrong thing, but it doesn't give us kind of any attacking thrust from the center of the pitch, which we need, especially like you said, where we're not really doing it on the wings as well. So yeah, definitely. In terms of chance creation, again, yeah, I do agree. I think it's slightly overplayed when we in the discourse around Wanderers that we don't create chances. I was on the centre circle data today, and in terms of open play chances, we're second in the league behind Pacific. So we have created chances, but then where that becomes a negative is we've got 0 big chances created, which tells, and also kind of to further that, we have like the most touches of the ball for defenders, nearly the most for midfielders as well. So we're building really, really well, and we're keeping the ball really, really well, but it just seems to break down when we get to the final ball. So it's not, we are kind of creating chances, but we're not creating big chances because that final pass is not there, or players are making the wrong decision once they get close to the 18-yard box. So I kind of looked at, I was kind of watching this match back with that in mind and thinking, okay, like we don't create too much. Like, let's interrogate that and try and figure out why we don't create too much. So I just picked out 3 moments. So the first one was in the 36th minute, and Morelli gets the ball around 25 yards out, and in front of him he's got Bent backing into a defender looking for a wall pass. He's got Salter about to run in off the shoulder, and on the right hand side he's got Fernandez, Lamoth and JGL ready to create an overload. So he's got kind of 3 options there. Probably the best option is to try and create the overload on the right, but instead he just shoots from 25 yards out. And it was just obviously, I don't really need to say this, we love Morelli, he's our best player by a million miles, but just in that moment it was completely the wrong decision. And and you miss out on creating a really good chance. The second one, Tabby, in the 33rd minute, the ball comes out to him out wide. He's got a cut back to Morelli on. He's got a ball across the 6-yard box to Bent on, but he just spoons it and it goes out for a goal kick.
I actually had that wrote down myself. That cross was disgraceful.
Exactly.
And he's a young guy and he's his first season, But, you're still a professional footballer and you should be able to do a cutback or a simple cross. Like, I don't know what happened. What was going through his head of what he was trying to achieve with that cross.
I think it was just rush of blood. I think he's looked quite. I really think he's going to be a good player for us, but I think he's looked a little bit nervous, and he just got a bit of a nosebleed being that high up the pitch. And what do I do in this moment? And Morelli looked a bit pissed off when that happened as well. Yeah. You see him kind of turn around it's these moments where it's like poor decision making, an individual error. We're really good at going from Oxner to the 18-yard box and building that way. Like, we look really well coached in pattern play and like players knowing their positions. But as soon as it comes to that final ball, it seems to just collapse a little bit. And that's the issue. That's why we're not scoring more.
You said you had a third one there. Sorry.
Sorry. And it was a Salter chance in the 51st minute where, to be fair to him, he made quite a good out to in run. JGL picked him out, and he just, again, his first touch isn't great, and he just finds himself almost eye to eye with the goalkeeper when you're that close, you've not really got any net to aim for. So again, just individually not quite being on it. And also Morelli had an open goal if you cut it back to him as well in that moment. So yeah, it's just a mixture of individual errors, poor decision making, but it's I don't blame the system. I don't blame the coaching for that. That's on individuals having to be better and having to raise their level for us to score more.
A little bit different. I think some of it does come from coaching, and I think it's the way that Stephen Hart has always kind of set his teams up, that like it's almost like defense first and then everything else is second. So like he with most of the away games, it feels to me that he's happy with the point. So whenever we play away, it's like our system set up that like we're not going to concede, or like, we're not going to concede many goals. And it's kind of like the attacking part of it is secondary to that. I like after the game, he was like making a lot of that Salter chance, but like it was a half chance. Like as you said, like the way that he was talking about it was like the greatest chance that the Wanderers have ever had. And it was like, like Salter's first touch, he was right in on top of Ingham. And in the commentary, they were saying it was a great save by Nate Ingham, but he didn't really have to do much because like he was right in on top of Salter in the first place, right? So, as you said, had Salter been a little bit more savvy and a little bit more aware of what was around them, like he could have just laid it off to Morelli and it's a different game. But like I tried to look back, and I tried to like look at it as well. And there was a couple of times when Morelli was like just trying to take chances like from 25, 30 yards out, and like you're good, but you're not that good. And
I feel like that must have been a tactical instruction, because it happens, I think 3 or 4 times he took really long pops, like really long shots. They must have said like Ingham is not great on long shots or something, or Morelli decided that himself, because it was a pattern and he doesn't normally do that. Maybe one every two or three games he'll try, but yeah, I thought that was very strange. Like
there was like I think it was one in the first half where he kind of he had like Ingham scrambling, I think, but then the rest of them were just like easy catches for him. And as you said, like I mean, like with that one there where we had the overload, and like that must be frustrating for those guys too, that you make the run and then somebody takes a pot shot that's like probably not going to go in unless it's a worldie, right? So
yeah,
well, it just feels that when we get to that final third, like nobody knows exactly where they're supposed to be, because they're all being asked to do different things. So like when Morelli drops deep, like Bent and Salter are being asked to come inside and be the target person, and then I just like there's a lot of confusion about what is expected from the players. And I think a lot of times I saw Corey Bent come inside and we literally had no width whatsoever. It was like literally like it was like, when you see kids who are like 5 or 6 trying to play football and they all run towards the ball. It was exactly like, it was kind of like that. And I was just, this is where our issue is. And we don't have that player, like apart from Morelli, that can split open a defense, and I think if you can't split a defense open that way, you have to go through the channels.
It's interesting you saying that, because that is something I want to talk about, because I think, so maybe we'll get to this later, but just to bring it up now, when we start talking about the solutions to what we do if Morelli is out for the season, I have a feeling you and I are going to come at it from completely different angles, actually. Because am I right in thinking you're going to want like kind of a 4-3-3 with a proper number 9 in the centre?
I would love for us to try and have 2 forwards. I'd rather like
4-4-2. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like I'm not that I'm old fashioned or whatever. I just think it's something that we barely try. And I think that having like somebody with a strike partner, like if you have Salter and Ben playing together, just say to them, you're playing the middle. I think a lot of those chances that we talked about like the last time, and it happened with this game too, that whenever a ball come into the box, like nobody's making the run to the front post because they're not being told to play in that position. They're being told to like play your right wing or your left wing. You know what I mean? Whereas like I think if Salter is playing through the center or Corey Bent is, they're making that run to the front. They have time to make that run to the front post. And I think it really shows when we do get in behind, like how like little opportunity there is for people to be picked out because there's nobody making the runs that you'd expect of a striker. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
No, 100%. And we did in 2019, we played with 2 up front quite a lot but didn't score too many. But I do know what you mean. It is quite frustrating because I think Morelli naturally makes a secondary run. He doesn't want to be the first person arriving in the box. So then it's on whoever's right wing and whoever's left wing to do that instead.
We might as well talk about it now. But so what would you, what sort of system would you like us to do now? But considering that probably Joe's out for the season, or for most will probably.
I really like the whole false 9 thing, to be honest, and I didn't think I would. I like how fluid the front 3 are. Like, I know we've been saying that they're not really arriving in the right places, but I think that's more to do with just getting used to this new role. Because like we were kind of chatting when we were both watching it again yesterday, weren't we, about how 1 minute Salter's a left winger, then he's a centre forward, then Bent's a centre forward, and Morelli's playing on the right. So that front 3 are designed to be really, really fluid and changing positions a lot. And I quite like that. It hasn't worked perfectly yet, but I like it in theory. And where my mind has gone since Morelli got injured is not to a change of system, it's to who can actually do that false 9 role instead of him. And I like, for me, it's Bent or Daniels. I'd like to see both of them given a go doing that, because I don't see. Again, I don't want to sound like we're shitting on Salter, because I like Salter. I think he's a good player at what he is, which is a squad player. But I don't think I think he's a bit too static to be our starting centre forward. I think he's more of an impact player last 20 minutes. Whereas if you have someone like Bent or Daniels there, I feel like they will interchange of the right and left winger as well. And I like to think once that all actually properly clicks, it's going to work really well. I think that's Dorado's. Like, I think that kind of Spanishy sort of, we don't really have to play with a proper striker. Like, we can create chances in other ways. It's very in vogue at the moment. And yeah, we got a former Real Madrid youth coach, so of course we're going to give that a go. So yeah, I would like to see same system, but working a bit better with Bent or Daniels as that focal point.
So can you see Daniels like kind of playing the same way? Is he the same sort of player, like the way that like Joe is? Like, you know, like Joe's probably like, he's the focal point going forward, but then he's going to drop deep and then he's going to make the runs. But like, so do you see Daniels being able to replicate that, or do you think that they might have to change it slightly to suit Daniels' style of play?
I don't know, but I'd like to see is probably the most truthful answer I can give. It's something I'd like to see. It might look terrible. There's a good chance it will look terrible, but it's worth a look. I think physically he can do it. I think he's a really intelligent player, so he can do it from that sense. I don't think he's ever played there before, so it would be a massive risk. But yeah, him or Ben, I'd just like to see a couple of games. If it doesn't work, fine, change the system. I'm just conscious of the fact that that's probably been a system we've been working on since February in pre-season, and to throw it all out because the most important player in that system is injured seems like giving up on it a bit too easily, because they obviously believe in it. They obviously think it will work eventually. So
I thought we'd be a lot more negative than what we've been, like just like with the way that the kind of season started. Obviously we got the win away, but like, you know, both games, like we haven't created much. Like, we have 1 goal from a penalty, like, so we haven't scored from open play, and it it just feels so so much like deja vu of how the last season went, and it's like I have to believe, like, I mean, it's been 4 seasons of us pretty much being the lowest scorers apart from 2020, which is an anomaly. Like, it's just the way Stephen Hart plays the game and the way he sees it. And I think eventually, like, I mean, I went through back through Twitter today just to see Derek Martin's, like, what he was saying after last season, and it's like it's time to bring a trophy home. It's like we set a new record for fans, and it's like we need to do what needs to be done to improve and challenge for a championship. And I'm looking at this team now and the way we're playing and the way we're set up, and I know we've been away from home and it's going to be different when we play at the grounds. Like, I don't think this team is capable of winning the championship. I really don't. And I hate being a negative Nelly, and I'm sure people will hate me for it, and they'll be on the Discord saying I'm an asshole. But I think sometimes we need to be a little bit realistic. And like, I don't know we've done enough in the off season, especially compared to what the other teams have done to strengthen our squad. Like, I think, you know, we obviously haven't seen Mo Omar yet, so he could be the game changer. So let's hope that he is. But I just don't think that we have, from the players we kept and the players we brought in, we have enough about us. Especially having watched the games on the weekend, like that came after, like the Forge Calvary game and Pacific and Valor. Like, I honestly think we're miles away, but I could be just being pessimistic. Am I being too much of a pessimist?
No, I think I'm probably optimistic to a fault, and I think that's probably quite annoying for people as well. But I don't know. I always just try to see the silver lining in stuff, and yeah, my kind of rebuttal to that would be we're third in the league. We're one of only 3 teams to win a game this season. Second most chances created in open play. We've got the best expected goals against record in the league, so our defense is really good. And I do understand, but I really think the Ottawa performance was basically the same as the York performance, but because we won one game and we lost the other one, we kind of emotionally react to the game depending on the result, don't we? And we see it through that frame. But I don't think we were that bad against Ottawa. And I was going to say, yeah, I think we've played 2 away games against teams who are going to be competing with us for that 4th spot. And I think, like, you are right, Cavalry, Pacific, and Forge a few steps ahead of anyone else in the league, without a doubt. So if we win a couple against them teams around us away, if we lose a couple, again, no drama for me. I wanted 4 points from these first 3 games. Realistically, I think it's going to be 3 points, to be honest, because I don't think we'll get anything against Pacific, because yeah, they're a level above us, and that's completely understandable.
Like when coming off the back of the York game, like, I was a little bit more pessimistic than you again, and I think that's just my nature.
I think that's just our personalities.
I think it's an Irish thing. We just like to see the worst and everything. But like, I just thought it was like, you know, it was slightly better than what we did last year, and it just felt like it was with the same issues were there, and it just doesn't look like it's been addressed. And that was the whole point of all these Wonders Wednesdays and everybody getting hyped up about them, and it was because Derek had came out and said that it's going to be different, and it just, to me, it just feels like it's the same. And I know it's going to be different when we get home, because obviously the crowd is a huge, but that's always been the case. So I'm just, obviously it's only 2 games in, so I should take a row back in a little bit and just be a little bit more optimistic. But I guess I'm just preparing myself for another somewhere at the grounds of just like, oh fucking jeez, I'm gonna end up just getting hammered because this game is boring, you know. So one thing I did want to ask you, some people were kind of blaming Christian Oxner somehow for the Ottawa goal, which I don't understand whatsoever how Oxner was to blame for that goal.
He was definitely not to blame for that goal.
So, you know, I know that you studied it yourself earlier on. So what did you think caused it, and who was at fault if there was somebody at fault?
Yeah, we were chatting earlier about this, weren't we? I think we lost the midfield battle. There were some really poor challenges to lose the midfield battle. And then just as the Ottawa player is about to cross it, they've kind of overloaded us at the back post. So there's Restrepo and Fernandez isolated against 3 Ottawa players, one of which is Shaw, who's bigger than both of them. And just trying to work out why that happened. And I think so. Santos should have really took a step back and taken the guy Restrepo was on. Restrepo should have moved over onto the spare man. Fernandez already had a man. If that happens, no danger, we clear it. But I think there was a runner running into Tabby's channel, and Santos, just from some of his body language, and this is good that he's doing this, but I think he's really trying to take care of Tabby out there. He's trying to protect him a lot. So Santos kind of steps into Tabby's lane to try and take the guy who's making the run there, which leaves 3-on-2 on the back post. So what probably should have happened is Rampersad or Jeremy track the midfield runner, so Santos doesn't need to worry about it. They go and help Tabby. Santos steps across, etc., etc., etc. We don't concede that goal. But yeah, you know, football, it all happens so fast, making those decisions so quickly. And yeah, but it definitely wasn't Oxen's fault. Definitely not.
I honestly don't like. Some people were saying he should have come out to get it, which it was like right at the edge of the box. Like how the hell would he got near? And then they were saying like he should have dived, like he was rooted to the spot. But I mean, like nobody would have got that. Like I don't understand like what they wanted from him. But I think like I kind of like looked at it earlier on myself, and it all came from, we had the ball out on the right hand side. They got like a lucky kind of break, and then Tissot, who's like, well, in his 30s, his legs are like, his knees are fucked, and he somehow managed to do a Messi and ran past 3 of our players. And I'm sometimes from the right Keane school of thinking that like Rampersad, as Tissot was coming across, kind of like went to like challenge him, and I think he kind of saw he was going to foul him and kind of like didn't go full blooded in. Take the yellow card. You know what I mean? Like just stop it down his tracks. And I think had he done that, and I'm not blaming him for the goal, like no matter what, like, but I'm just saying, like, had he stopped him at that stage, the goal doesn't happen because we go back to free kick and we can kind of organize it a little bit better. But then Tissot came across and he gets past Jeremy as well. And then nobody sees the run on the right hand side. So like, I don't know who it was, whether it was Tabby or whoever, was so slow to get out to the guy who was going to cross the ball eventually. Like he literally had an hour to cross that ball and make it a good one. So I think there was not like, and that's why you saw, I think, Rampersad and Jeremy trying to get over there really quickly to try and close it down. And I just think that had we been a little bit more aware and saw that run, like he's not going to have the time to pick out a great cross like that. And it's not taking away. I'm not trying to take away from a great Ottawa goal. It was fantastic, and like, yeah, he finished it so well, and it was a really good goal. And it was a goal good enough to win any game, I think. But I just thought that there was like, and that's, as you said, that's football. Like it happens really quickly, but it's always like usually a collective of errors, little errors along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Tissot beating 3 players is insane. I watched it back today and I was like, holy, because I didn't notice it when I watched it the first time. I was like, fucking hell, like how have we let him do that? You know what I mean? So
that's another thing with those 3 centre midfielders, who again I thought all did well individually, but none of them are particularly athletic. So you can, if you've got a sprinter in central midfield, you know you can beat all of them in a foot race, no problem, and you can dribble past them. So we have to set up in a really intelligent way positionally to stop that from happening. But late in a game, kind of everyone's a bit tired. It's something that can happen. You can get dribbled past. So yeah, you're completely right. Collection of errors. No one was massively at fault. It was just a lot of little things went wrong. And it was an amazing ball. Like that.
The cross was
within an inch, that was the only place that cross could have gone where it results in a goal.
And he got up really well, and like to get in the middle of like the 2 defenders like that was, yeah, it was like classic centre forward play, like, you know. So, he was the player I wanted to sign most in the off season, actually. Because at the, like, I think I've written about it, but at the beginning of the off season, I was same as you. I was like, we need another striker, and I wanted Ongaro or Malcolm Shaw. Those were the 2 I wanted. So I think you're right. I think it just gives us like something different, like you know, especially like I kind of mentioned it earlier on that, like, you know, like the last, like when they scored, like we didn't offer much. And I know that, like you said too, like that the Joe injury probably like put them on the back foot and their head was elsewhere. But we didn't, like, you know, like when you see a game and it's like you're a goal behind and it's the last couple of minutes and you're just pumping balls into the box and you're putting tons of pressure on and you're hoping that something happens. Like we didn't do that. Like I just thought like we just sat back and we were just kind of like look lethargic, and we just like, I don't know. It just
do you say that? That's something I've noticed, like CPL wide, and you saying that it's like something I've thought about but never actually spoken out loud about. Like, is that just a top level football thing where when a team's behind for the last 10 minutes, it's just like peppering the goal with crosses, the other team sits really deep? You see it in every single Premier League game or top level game. When a team's behind, that happens, don't you? But you rarely see it in the CPL. And I don't know if it's like a level of the players thing, or I don't know what it is. But even like the York game last week, like other than a little 10-minute spell, they didn't really do that to us either, did they?
I think it's like
weird.
I don't even know it was like a top tier thing. I think it's like more like it doesn't take much for anybody to be able to like put your biggest players in the box and just like be able to pump ball, you know what I mean? And just like
we put Charlotte up front a lot, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. Like stuff like that. Like, and you know, like I hate like picking players out and like being like mean about it. But I mean, a lot of people are kind of critical of Peter sometimes with his long balls, like the passes that he does. But there was actually one there, like when he had the ball, nobody around him, and he just literally just kicked it straight to Ottawa, and they were able to kind of push back down the field. So like sometimes I think that like we need to like be a little bit cleverer or more precise with what we're trying to do. But I definitely don't think that's a top tier thing, because you see it all the time. And like, you know, if you ever watch like any kind of Sunday League football stuff on YouTube, it's the same thing. It's like all you're doing is just pumping the ball into the box of the big man and hoping something happens. But we just never see
football.
Yeah, exactly. But we never seem to want to do it. Like we just never seem to want to do. And I think, you know, like I'd rather lose 2-0 than like not try. You know what I mean? Like that's just kind of the way I look at it. But
what minute did they score in? Was it like the 81st?
Yeah. So I mean, like we had like a good even before Joe got injured, we still had like
7-8 minutes. Yeah,
and we didn't seem to do much. And that was another thing. Like Joe was like, I think they had a corner just beforehand, and he's back trying to mark somebody. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing back there? Like you're supposed to be like our main forward threat. Get the fuck out of there. Like move.
I think he gets frustrated when he can't, when the ball's not coming to him. He'll go looking for the ball, won't he? I think that's what happened there.
And I think that's part of the issue sometimes. I think I brought it up like last week, like how deep he drops, and like we're hoping and praying that somebody has the wherewithal to fill in the gap where he's left, and like sometimes we don't. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what Stephen Hart does. Like we're away from home, so he's not traditionally a manager who tries to do anything out of the ordinary away from home. So I just, you know, I haven't watched did you watch the Pacific game yesterday?
Yeah, they're very good.
What
they were playing against 10 men, but
what are you expecting from the game next week?
I was chatting to people today about this. I don't think he'll risk just having Rampy as a number 6. I think Bustos is far too dangerous cutting into that space in front of the defenders to only have one player covering there. So I think he'll play probably Jeremy and Rampy both as 6s, and just to really, really protect Tabby. And probably if Daniels is fit anyway, Daniels is kind of a 10, like linking up with the forwards. Other than that, I don't see too many changes. I think Restrepo and Santos have been good. Fernandez has been fantastic. Obviously, I'd like to see Marshall come back in. Maybe to be honest, switch Marshall and Bent over, because I think Marshall's much better playing from the right, cutting inside. So I'd like to see that. Bent can play any of them 3 positions across the front line. So, you know, I think it's really interesting at the moment, because it's a bit of a sliding doors moment for the players right now, because I don't want them to be wallowing about their mate Joao getting injured. Obviously, you feel for your friend, etc. But football careers are really, really short, and you don't get that many opportunities. And a window of opportunity is 100% open for any of those attackers now to be this team's talisman, to be the main guy for our attack. They've kind of always been playing in a system which is built around getting the best out of Morelli, but now the system can become something which is more about the collective. And it's completely up for grabs for Bent, for Marshall, for Salter, for Akeem, any of them to go, this is my team now. And that's what I'll be saying to them in the dressing room. Like, you can make your career if these 6 months, 9 months, however long Morelli's out, you can make your career in these next 6 months by playing very, very well and having the character, having the ego, the confidence to actually go, right, this is my team now. I'm the main guy. Stephen, you're going to stick me a centre forward and I'm going to bang him in at the same rate Morelli's been doing. And like, I could get a move to MLS off the back of this or to a good USL side. So I hope that's the message. And I'm looking forward to seeing if any of them have that kind of
get up and
the
go.
bollocks to do that. Yeah.
Bollocks is a much better word, man. But yeah, like I totally agree with you like that. It's definitely somebody's chance to like step into the limelight and do the business. And I think it's also hopefully like they sit down as a squad and realize that they all need to start chipping in, because this is the worst case scenario of what everybody talked about in the off season, is that if we take Morelli out of his team, where do the goals come from? Like, I mean, like it was so bad last year, like the goals that we scored outside of him. Like, I mean, like Akeem with 2 and Salter with 3 and all that kind of stuff. Like we need these guys to now, like, there's no excuses. They need to step up to the plate. And I hate using that phrase, but they need to, and they need to like put it out there. And like, even if it doesn't need to take somebody like taking his place and scoring 15 goals, but it'd be nice if somebody stepped in and scored 3 or 4 goals and somebody else scored 3 or 4 goals, just to kind of, because you made the point before that a lot of teams like last year, like it wasn't just one person scoring all the goals were coming from everywhere, but we were the only kind of one that was dependent on one player. And now worst case scenario, like he's gone, like, you know, and it's like
yeah, exactly. Like we've been saying since the off season, like everyone needs to start pitching in more with goals. Well, tough shit. Like the guy that scores all the goals is injured now, so it's completely on you guys, the rest of the attack, to start hitting some numbers close to that. Like that has to happen now, otherwise the season's not going to go well. So it's on them. Yeah, I hope. I have a sneaky feeling Corey Bent's going to step up. I don't know why. I just feel like he's got the personality for it to go, okay, I'm the man now.
I think like me, like when Akeem gets back, I think having seen him a couple of times, like he looks, and I mentioned this the last time, he looks way fitter this year, and hopefully he's a lot more focused, because theoretically he's the guy that should be able to do it. You know what I mean? Like a fit Akeem Garcia is probably our best goal scorer and threat outside of Joao Morelli. So like you know, the pressure's on him again, because obviously he was under a lot of pressure last year because he was expected to bang in the goals again, and it didn't happen for him. So, you know, he's going to have to ride that pressure again, but hopefully this time he comes up trumps for us, because, you know, I as I said, like I just can't go through another summer gone to the grounds and just watching 1-0 or losing 1-0 games. Like I want to be entertained, you know, and that's the thing.
Believe.
Yeah, I know, and that's the thing. Like I'd rather us like I don't care if we finish like 4th or 5th and we score a ton of goals. Like at this stage, I don't give a shit about championships. I just want to be able to watch the games and enjoy them and not just sit there and go, fucking Jesus. That
is 100% the Irish in you, isn't it?
So to finish up, we like, although it was a defeat, I need to get your man in the match. So who did you go for and why?
So I've been going back and forth on JGL and Fernandez all day. Actually, I thought JGL was really good, controlled the midfield pretty well, really high pass percentage, completion rate, which is kind of his jam. But I think I'm going to give it to Fernandez actually, because, and maybe this is a bit of a carryover from last week, because I thought he was excellent against York, but I thought Rampersad was better. And I thought he kept his level against Ottawa. The biggest compliment you could give him is, after a week of being scouted, none of what Ottawa did came down his side. So they've identified him as someone who's really, really good defensively, and like, let's not even bother trying to go down his side, because he'll probably win his battles. Again, very good going forward as well. He always offers us width. There's always an option on the overlap, even if this week his teammates weren't finding him quite as well. But I really like our defensive unit at the moment. I think we're looking extremely secure, and he's a huge part of that. So yeah, Fernandez for me. How about you?
Nice. I totally agree with you. I think he was really good again, and he just looks like he belongs in the league. You know, he just doesn't 21. Panic. Yeah, it's
21 insane. Years old. It's unbelievable that he's never played professionally. Well, yeah, apart from a Canadian Championship game, but he's taken to it like a duck to water, hasn't he? He's been phenomenal,
and that's like where, like obviously the scouting system worked. Like they obviously like saw him from the game like last year and were like, okay, we need to get him to Halifax. I mean, this was kind of like the same like last week. I think he had an amazing game, and I think he played really well. Like Restrepo for me, I think he was. I was thinking again because I think Santos didn't really put a foot wrong either. I think he had another really solid game. He was covering the ground really well. He was like his passing was really, really good. But I just thought that Restrepo probably just overshone him and played like as you said. I think our defense looks really good this year, and the fact that these two are keeping Peter Shala out of the squad or out of the team shows you how well they're playing and how they've clicked so quickly. Like because Restrepo was injured for like a lot of the like last season, and like Santos was being played all over the place, like left back, center back, and stuff like that. So the fact that he didn't have much of a preseason, they just clicked. It's like they've been playing together for years. So, but
hopefully Restrepo's not injured.
I know, and I didn't even want to bring that up because like that's the thing. And obviously Peter will come in, and I think Peter does give us an awful lot too. But when you're looking at the pace and the power of Pacific, it's Restrepo and Santos that you want to have there. And that's no disrespect to Peter. I think we need to have some like people who are a little bit more like agile, and because they're not going to be pounding the box with crosses, are they? They're going to be like trying to get in behind us with pace and power. So
there's no problem with Shala missing a couple of games. Like he will play as many centre back minutes as Restrepo and as many as Santos without a doubt by the end of the season. I think we can like get a bit too fixated on the drama of match day starting 11s. Like he will play plenty of football this year, but I agree with you for this game especially. Restrepo has really good recovery pace, and we're going to need that against Pacific. Like no matter how good we are defensively, they're pretty fucking good in attack, and they will create a lot of chances. So we're going to need recovery pace. We're going to need players who are switched on for 90 minutes, and it's more of a Restrepo game. In the same breath, where I still kind of think against Ottawa it was more of a Shala game, but the Pacific game is a Restrepo game.
I was the same as you. I was really surprised when because I said it to you like last week. I thought it'd be difficult for Peter to get in, and you made a really good point about like the way that Ottawa play and the strikers that they have, like they're big guys, like, and like it was made kind of more for Peter. But I thought that apart from the goal, like Restrepo and Santos like handled that really, really well, and like they were actually pretty decent in the air too. So yeah, it's Mateo. I think he's kind of like an unsung hero an awful lot of times. Like he does his business, does it well, and kind of just goes under the radar because it's kind of expected of him now. And I think sometimes you need to kind of give somebody a shout out for. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next week. Hopefully the news isn't as bad with Joe as what we're thinking. But I think we do need to prepare ourselves for some bad news. So
I like if I'm in that dressing room, give the players a day to feel down about it, and then go, right, you're a footballer, this is your career, stop wallowing. This is what we need to do. Let's find a solution. So instead of fixating on the bad thing, fixate on finding a solution.
I'm sure Stephen Hart has a million better things to do than to listen to us two talk shite. But if he is listening, get Gary into the dressing room, Stephen, and he'll G the lads up for you.
they would look at me like I was a piece of shit on their shoe if I was in there. Like, who the fuck is this loser? All right, boys, you should do this and this.
Go out there and win it for Joe.
Yeah, exactly. All of that stuff. Oh, mate, I'm terrible with that sort of like earnest. I can't do earnest very well. So
me either. I do that. So that's what Stephen gets paid the big bucks for. So yeah, man. So I really appreciate you hanging out again. It's been good.
Cheers, mate.
To kind of catch up again on the game.
It's therapy, isn't it? After we lose, it's therapeutic.
Yeah. Exactly. And I didn't drink. I just kind of it was kind of nice just to talk out my problems. So thank you.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're a psychologist, I have to pay like $200 an hour, man. So thanks for the free therapy.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Appreciate it.
Have a good one, man. Talk soon.
Bye.
Cheers.
Vote, please. Right foot, please. Time to drink on, folks. Get out. Out to vote.